We are joined by driver of the number 7 Chevrolet for Junior Motorsports, Justin Allgaier is in the house. Justin, thank you so much for joining us today. Pocono Raceway coming up, man. A track that I know you enjoy to come up here. You bring the family up here to enjoy everything the Pocono Mountains has to offer. What are you looking forward to? You're racing on a Sunday this year, right before the Cup, guys. What are you expecting from the race weekend?
Well, so the picture that's over my shoulder is obviously not Pocono, but I have a picture just like that of Pocono from the ARCA Racing Series, and that's will go down in history as one of my favorite wins of all time. I love coming up to Pocono Raceway, just the atmosphere, the area, the racetrack. It's been a great racetrack for me, and just somewhere I enjoy coming to. And I think that that doesn't change this weekend. It's different being on a Sunday. We've been down this road before, but it's very different being on a Sunday on a doubleheader weekend. But I think one of the great things for me is that we're able to watch a lot of racing before we're able to get on the racetrack, make some decisions on our program, what we want to do to our car, and if there's any changes we want to make, before we roll through tech. So there's a lot of advantages to it, and I think that's going to be the interesting part is kind of who. I'm not going to say guess is right, but with the lack of qualifying, who makes the right decisions before the race starts.
Thank you, sir. We have some questions for you from media members who are both present and a couple people who just left some questions for you. So the first one is from Scott Loss, Scranton Times Tribune. General thoughts on the 2021 season for you guys. Obviously some pretty strong runs throughout the season, but what are your thoughts overall of how that number 7 Chevrolet has been performing?
It's been up and down. That's kind of been the crazy part. I look at the last month and a half, and I say, man, it's been great. But really, the beginning of the season, we fired off the year, and I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I was ready to throw in the towel about race 3. It just seemed like nothing would go our way. Everything was going wrong. We just didn't have what we needed to have, and things weren't going the way we wanted them to go. And that's one of the things that I love about this 17. I've been lucky enough now to be with Junior Motorsports for a number of years, but really with the 7 guys. I mean, we have the same core group of guys that we had, when I started there a number of years ago. And so one of the beauties of that is that it allows us to kind of dig our way out of the trenches, I guess, if you will, right? So when you're having bad weeks and things aren't going the way that you want them to go, you don't feel like you're firing on all 8 cylinders, you're able to kind of dig down and nobody gets their feelings hurt. You just get back to work and you try to do everything you can to make sure that your program is where it needs to be at. And, the Hendrick engine shop, obviously Chevrolet, whether that be on the truck, Xfinity, or Cup side, they've been doing a fantastic job of trying to make their program better. And then all the guys and gals at our shop, it's crazy to think that, we talk about all the time about how hard we're working and how, we're trying to outwork everybody else. So we know that everybody at every race shop across the country is doing the same thing. But, we've been very fortunate to have the right people in place and to have the right procedures in place and make our program better. I've finished second to Kyle Busch now 2 weeks in a row. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. It hurts a lot, not because I got beat by Kyle Busch, but the way we got beat, coming down to the end of these races and being able to pass to the lead under green and then lose it on a restart, shortly thereafter. That's been really disappointing, but that's how this sport goes. And I think the days that you don't go to victory lane make the ones that when you do go to victory lane that much sweeter. And that's why I'm so excited to get to Pocono. I think we got a great shot at it, and it'd be a great way to rebound. After feeling like we got beat on those 2 late race restarts the last 2 weeks in a row.
Kicking things back, obviously, you've talked about how much you enjoy Pocono Raceway, but from a competition standpoint, obviously it's such a unique layout, such a unique track. What are the toughest parts of Pocono Raceway and getting around the Tricky Triangle, in your opinion, from a driver?
Turn 4. Turn 4 is the toughest part. Honestly, it is so unique with only having 3 corners and how we describe the corners. Just the layout of the racetrack I think for us, when we go to a lot of these racetracks, whether it be a mile and a half or a short track or even, a bigger track like in Indianapolis or something like that, they all have characteristics that are very similar amongst the corners, right? Darlington maybe could be considered kind of the only one that's a little bit unique in the fact that it's very different from one to the other. But with that being said, we're doing it 3 times at Pocono, and you're having to, I'm not going to say give up on one corner, but you're having to kind of balance out, the inability to get to a corner with all three corners, right? So never will you be perfect in all three. At least I don't know of anybody that's ever been perfect in all three. You're always going to fight something in one or two. Ideally you can make all three of them just, at 80 or 90%, and that's the best case scenario, but it is really tough. And Kevin, you have to help me out here, but it's Trenton, Indy, and Milwaukee, right? Are the three
Nailed it.
three racetracks. Say that again.
You nailed it.
Okay. So obviously I never got to race at Trenton. It was gone before I started racing, but I have raced at the other two, and I feel like I have a really good understanding of what it takes to kind of get around the other two. So I feel like that's why I enjoy coming to Pocono, because I feel like those corners are comfortable to me and they're fun. But also too, I think, it's very, very unique because not everybody comes to the ARCA series, right? We have a lot of guys that kind of jump straight into trucks or into the Xfinity series. We have guys and gals that have come from the K&N series, or, formerly what was the K&N series. And, they didn't get that opportunity to come to Pocono and get that ability to race there. And, I feel like I've raced about every type of car, every package, grip strip, no grip strip, all the fun stuff, repave, no repave, all the craziness that we've had over the years at Pocono. I feel like I've been fortunate enough to kind of be there and be a part of all of it. And so, with that being said, I think that definitely gives me a lot of comfort. I don't know that it gives me any advantage, because I think a lot of these teams, these drivers have figured out a lot of stuff, but it definitely gives me some comfort when we come up there and get to battle it out.
Next question I have for you is from frontstretch.com, Zach Sterniolo. Considering the success you've already had this season, what kind of benefit is it knowing that your team can challenge for multiple wins across different racetracks? And how does that build your confidence as you shift through these last summer months?
Well, here, when you look at the schedule, in years past, especially, there's been a lot of teams, a lot of drivers that are kind of a one-trick pony, right? They're able to go to a mile and a half, or they're able to go to a short track. And I feel like that's been us a little bit, to be honest with you. We've been really good on the short tracks, and we've kind of just been okay everywhere else. And one thing that I love about 2021 is the fact that it doesn't matter if it's a road course, if it's a short track, if it's a speedway, it doesn't matter. We're able to go and we're able to unload and be not only competitive, because I think that there's a difference between being competitive and being in that front two or three cars that are able to really kind of separate themselves from everybody else. But I feel like we've been able to kind of be at that upper end at all the racetracks we go to. And that's a feat that I hope our guys don't take very lightly, because it's not easy. They make my job easy in the car, because I'm at the end of the day, having a race car that drives well is the utmost importance, right? Finding that balance that suits your driver, that suits the car, the package, the rules, the track, the tire. That's another thing. We've been on a lot of different tires this year throughout the course of the season. And I think that that's actually helped us, because I feel like we struggled with kind of matching the tire at some of these places. And in the last couple of years, we've kind of had a locked in tire, and a team that maybe had it figured out was able to just keep the dominance alive. And for us, I feel like this year with having some different tire compounds and tire codes, we've really been able to up our game. So, when it's all said and done, we've done a good job. Our team's done a great job. But I think the key to all of this is we've had 4 race cars every week that are capable of winning the race. And there's a lot to be said for that. And so I'm proud of our race shop, proud of our guys and gals, and looking forward to what we keep learning as the summer goes on. And hopefully we're not peaking too early.
You've had some good runs here in the past. Would love to see you obviously break through for that victory here in the Xfinity Series at Pocono Raceway. What's it going to take to break through this weekend here at Pocono?
Honestly, for me, it's lack of mistakes. At Pocono especially, I feel like, it's really easy to bait yourself into making a mistake if you don't feel like you're handling exactly like you want to handle, or maybe you get a little bit off on pit strategy, or caution falls at a time that doesn't necessarily suit your strategy. I think it's really easy to go into kind of panic mode. Last year there we had arguably the dominant car, and we got caught off on a pit strategy. I tried to run up through the middle and make it, I don't know, probably 4 wide, I'm guessing, and ended up spinning out. So, I'm going to put that on myself, right? That's nothing that the team did. They brought a great race car, and you can never control cautions or when pit strategy is going to work for you. But I think for me, looking at Pocono this year, my biggest area of focus, I guess, if you will, is no mistakes, execution, and just putting yourself in a position to be, 4 fenders straight on the car at the end of the race, and things will be good. So if we do that, I think we got a great shot at winning.
You're qualified for the Xfinity playoffs. How are you preparing? Is it any different than you're preparing in the past compared to what you're moving forward to make a run for the championship?
I'm preparing by trying to win all these races so that I can gain as many bonus points at the end of the season as I can get. And unfortunately, I'm failing right now. Kyle Busch has been taking those bonus points, and I guess if it's any consolation, nobody else is getting them either, right? But that would be the huge advantage to us, especially a place like Pocono where we can go up there and try to win. If you were able to win, you get those bonus points. That obviously helps in the postseason. But I think it's interesting because a lot of people are already asking, like, okay, are you focusing on Phoenix, right? Are you getting prepared for that final race? And that's where we feel like we missed it last year, was at Phoenix. And I said, no, I'm getting ready for the first one, right? Because this series, the teams, the drivers, the cars, 2021 has really unfolded as being a very unique year as far as contenders and teams that are competitive. I mean, like I said, all 4 of our cars have been running well each and every week. All of the Joe Gibbs Racing cars have been running well every week. RCR has been running well. Colleague has stepped their program up. They've got 3 cars that are battling for a win every week. Penske's obviously up there every week. So, you look at the amount of cars that are capable of going each and every week to go to victory lane. That list is pretty stacked, and it's a lot different than what I would say the competition level has looked like over the last number of years. I'm not going to say that it's any harder. It's just different, right? And so you're preparing to race against other teams that you kind of have to be more prepared for. I think this year we've had a lot more guys that are willing to give up a little bit of speed to have some consistency, and that's great. Unless you are the guy that's trying to go for the wins every week and you make some mistakes, it's really going to be easy to put yourself in a hole because that consistency is there from some of those teams. So we got our work cut out for us, but I'm looking forward to the postseason and getting these playoffs started and kind of going from there.
A couple final questions for you. The first one would be going back to that ARCA win. Why was it so memorable for you? What do you remember about that win the most?
The ARCA win was so memorable for me because of all of the failures kind of leading up to that, right? We led a ton of laps at Pocono, had really good cars every time I came up there. But when we were racing ARCA series, it was family-owned team. We were very under budgeted. I remember one year, so back then we used to be able to shift and you would run an overdrive transmission. So, we'd be running around there and you'd be shifting six times a lap. It was fun. It was probably the most fun I've ever had in a race car, shifting like that. But I broke the transmission and I only had third gear. And so we ran second the whole race with just third gear. That was it. I was at the start finish line. I would be banging off the rev limiter of the chip, and just can remember going, "What in the world is going on here?" And had a late race restart, still only third gear, and was still able to come back. I think we finished like second or third in the race with only second gear. So that gives you an idea of how good of a car we had that year. Other than that, I had engines expire there. I had tires that, I'd run over some debris or whatever and cut a tire and lead the race. Just seemed like no matter what we did, I never could get through to go into victory lane, right? And so on the particular day that I won, I met a gentleman from Team Penske at the time and got to meet him. I was late to driver intros because I took the couple minutes to meet this gentleman. A friend of a friend introduced him. And ultimately that was what ended up leading to me coming to NASCAR, right? That was the job opportunity that came, the week leading up to Pocono. It was one of the hardest weeks of my life. My dad had told me on Monday that we were coming up there that we were out of money personally, and we didn't have any sponsors to keep running, and that, our program was going to shut down for the ARCA series, and that we maybe had a couple of races left, and that was it. And then I meet this gentleman, and then we go on to win the race, and the rest is history. And that's a special moment for me. Every time I come back up there, I think about that story and how Pocono was the catalyst to allow me to kind of live my dreams out and still be in this sport of NASCAR, and it's pretty special.
Thank you for sharing that story. That's pretty awesome. The final question I have for you is also something that's pretty awesome. Sam Mayer is making his Xfinity debut this weekend. Early impressions of him, and what's some of the biggest advice you're going to share with that young fella?
Well, Sam's obviously extremely talented. He's proven that time and time again, whether that be in the trucks or in the ARCA series. In our late model at Junior Motorsports, obviously, having Sam back at Junior Motorsports is going to be a great thing. Josh has done a fantastic job. Miguel's done a fantastic job driving that 8 car, leading up to this point in the season. And so I'm excited to get Sam in there. That 8 team has really been firing on all 8 cylinders. So that's been a plus for them. Sam, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can accomplish, because I think he's obviously going to be ultra talented whenever he gets behind the wheel of the Xfinity car as well. My biggest piece of advice, though, to him is that he's young, and there's a lot of time to prove yourself over these next couple of years, right? I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think that's the most important piece of all of this, is not to get overly excited. Go out there, do the best job you can. And if that's a 10th place finish, that's a 10th place finish. If you can go win the race, go win the race. Don't get me wrong. But, I think that as you come into the sport, sometimes it's really easy to get caught up in all the glitz and glamour and the pressure of people wanting you to succeed at a really early start. And I think that can sometimes be a detriment to somebody's career. I've seen some younger drivers that are super talented that have come and gone because, people just expected them to perform right out of the box. And that shouldn't be realistic. Right. So I hope that, he can come out, he can learn, he can do a great job, as I know he will. And be prepared to look at 2022 and trying to, use the information that he learns this year and use it to try to go for a championship next year. So hopefully that's the case. But again, he's plenty talented enough. It wouldn't surprise me if he's battling for a win, right out of the box at Pocono. But, on the other hand, being realistic about it, I think, you need to crawl before you can walk and walk before you can run. And just, the most important piece for him is going to be finishing all the laps.
Justin, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Safe travels up here this weekend. We look forward to seeing you, my friend. And, I'm going to stop recording.